time? Is it time? It's time. Hi! Yes, I'm here. Cold drink. Tra-la-la-la-la. It's 1:30. It's 1:30. Better be 1:30. It's 1:30. It looks like 1:30 to me. Hang on. Is it 1:30? Let me see. Yes. Yeah. It's totally 1:30. So, what chapter are we reading today? You know what chapter we're reading today. Yes, we're reading These Happy Golden Years. Hi to Alison Arngrim in the living room. And today, we are reading chapter 20, which is called Nellie Oleson. Yeah, so we will put this on at various points. Although I do have a lovely bonnet today. It's not a dead... Oh, look at that. It's like a teal. It's like a teal, but with this dark green, it looks more blue. I think it looks more blue with this teal, but it's pretty. So, ta-da, but I do have the wig. Hi! So it is, what is it? It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Hey, I talked to Dean, because remember I said they're like getting engaged any minute. So Dean is going to read tomorrow and Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday for sure, because oh, would you like an engagement ring? I don't know, depends who gave it to me. So yeah, I could have actual Dean Butler reading where Almanzo is proposing to Laura. But today is chapter 20, Nellie Oleson Day. Now, what day is it also? It is July 7th, which is National Dive Bar Day. But I'm in Los Angeles, and they closed all the bars again, which is probably smart, because in bars, everyone's sort of drinking, and they're all close together. And you know, you have to yell over the music, so people are going, which means all the droplet. Yeah, bars are dangerous when there's a disease going around, because you have to yell at each other, and it's terrible, terrible. So, indeed, they're Dive Bar Day soon. However, it's National Father-Daughter Take a Walk Day. Oh, that's nice. If you're a dad out there and you got a daughter, you get time to go for a walk. That's nice. National Strawberry Sundae Day. I'll have to make that. I have ice cream. I have raspberries. I have blueberries. But it is National Macaroni Day. And it is National Macaroni Day. So I took the time to make a bowl of, yes, Kraft macaroni and cheese. It is Kraft macaroni. I put some spices on it, because, you know, it's like cooking, sort of. I made, the Frolic Room. Yes, that is the best dive bar. Wow, hot. Oh, that's delicious. So, yes, I made, it's very salty, though, I forget, because, not to brag, but I kind of eat healthy, or I try. I don't eat too much processed, salty, icky chips and things. So when I go to eat something like Kraft mac and cheese, it's like, oh my god, it's so salty. It tastes way saltier than I remember it tasting. It's salty. And if you don't sit around eating a lot of Doritos and you kind of lay off the heavy salty stuff, within a few weeks, you start tasting how much salt is in food. So I'm like, but it's a treat. It's a treat. Now, technically, today the 7th is Macaroni Day. Macaroni and Cheese Day is not until July 14th. So I'm celebrating macaroni on Tuesday early. And this is from the box, so I love it. But I do know how to do it from scratch. And I might show you. Oh yeah. Actually brutal. Alright. We must commence. I have the wig ready. I will put it on at crucial moments, don't worry. You know what's really good? If you're making mac and cheese just from the box, you know, make it stuff, get the cheese on it, and then put on a little pepper. Put on a little, go in the cupboard, see what, your basil, you got your little tarragon, parsley, get that bouquet garni where it's like got everything in it, or herbs. It's great. Get that little herbe de Provence, or just something that's a spice mix. Mrs. Dash, whatever. So, and spice it up a little. You know, it's also really good. Slice up some tomatoes. Just cut up some tomatoes, slice it up, and throw them on top of your macaroni and cheese. Or mix it in and put it in the oven for a little bit, like a macaroni and cheese tomato casserole. Oh, I just want to get really crazy, and I've done this, and it sounds gross, but it's good. Hot dogs. Tomatoes, chunks of tomatoes, sliced hot dogs. mix it into your macaroni and cheese, bake it for like 15 minutes. Yes, it's actually good. Turns it into a whole meal. Even though it's mac and cheese. I love macaroni. I thought it was a delicacy when I was a child. Plain macaroni is delicious. All right. I cook way better than Nellie Olson. Okay. Chapter 20, Nellie Olson. I declare, Ma said, it never rains but it pours. My mother used to say that, and it's true. For strangely enough, Tuesday evening, a young man who lived on a neighboring claim came by and asked Laura to go buggy riding with him next Sunday. It was the dress. She got the new dress, the poplin she had made, and she wore like a fancy, almost sexy dress with the tight corset and the thing with the hoops. She got wore a ball gown to church, basically. And now all the men are asking her out, and she has no idea what to do. Actually asked her to go buggy riding. And Almanzo's been only guy who's taken her out, but these guys are now showing up. On Thursday evening, another young neighbor asked her to go buggy riding with him next Sunday. And as she was walking home Saturday evening, a third young man overtook her and brought her home in his lumber wagon and asked her to go riding with him next day. Chased her down in the street and said, can I get in the wagon? I don't know. I might not have gotten in his wagon. Getting in cars is a strange man. That Sunday, Almanzo and Laura drove north past Almanzo's 2 claims to Spirit Lake. I guess she decided to not go with all these other guys. There was a small claim shanty on Almanzo's homestead. He really does have a homestead. On his tree claim, there were no buildings at all, but the young trees were growing well. He had set them out carefully and must cultivate and care for them for 5 years. Then he could prove up on the claim and own the land. The trees were thriving much better than he had expected at first, for he said if trees would grow on those prairies, he thought they would have grown there naturally before now. Good point. I mean, that's why it's prairie. Trees are not growing. It's all flat and grass and little tiny plants. And so it's very hard to grow all these great big crops and trees out there in the prairie. They do not grow naturally. It's going to take a bit of cultivating. It is. These government experts have got it all planned, he explained to Laura. They're going to cover these prairies with trees all the way from Canada to Indian Territory. It's all mapped out on the land offices where the trees ought to be, and you can't get that land except on tree claims. They're certainly right about one thing. If half of those trees live, they'll seed the whole land and turn it into a forest land like the woods back east. Do you think so? Laura asked him in amazement. Somehow she could not imagine those prairies turned into woods like Wisconsin. Well, time will show, he answered. Anyway, I'm doing my part. I'll keep those trees alive if it can be done. Sort of. It sort of worked. It is true that if you go out to the prairies of South Dakota and these places now that he's talking about, there are a lot more trees than were there on the prairies when they arrived. But someone said, that's what caused the Dust Bowl in the 30s. Well, yeah, trying to grow stuff that doesn't grow. It's like not a natural plant. It's like an invasive species or what have you. You mess with that too much. I mean, there's a reason the trees weren't growing there. The climate, the thing, the wind, a few trees here and there, but putting them all in, you're going to get some, but you're going to kind of mess up the whole structure, and the soil won't necessarily take it, and it may not work out. As I say, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. And you'll get a few more trees. We have this problem in California, as you've seen our fires. California, an area around LA, there's rolling hills. There's old pictures from like the 20s. Nothing. You see all the trees on the hills now in the pictures? There was nothing. It was high chaparral. It was scrub bushes and scrub and little teeny tiny trees. And just grass and bushes. And like tumbleweeds. And then you see like the Magic Castles there and Yamashiro, what became the Yamashiro restaurant, and they were houses. There's like the only 2 houses in the hills. Then they started planting trees, and it was fashion. It was the Chinese willow was in around the time that Mann's Chinese Theater became. It was Grauman's. The Grauman's Chinese Theater got built. Anything Chinese was in. Chinese decor, Chinese furniture, Chinese dresses, and the Chinese willow tree. And they planted them all over the Hollywood Hills. It's an invasive species. It messed up like a bunch of... They're pretty, but the roots get in the pipes and yeah. And then it was pine trees were in. Then the palm trees. Remember the palm trees? Well, we went on an Egyptian kick in California because, Rudolph Valentino in the movie The Sheik. Hence the Egyptian theater, hence the Sheik football team of Hollywood High, hence a million palm trees during our Middle Eastern fad that we had in California. So we didn't have palm trees. We didn't have palm trees. No. So they went crazy and they did that. So a lot of our stuff in California isn't from here, and a lot of the stuff growing in our forest is a real hodgepodge from stuff or different, countries and whatnot. So it does contribute to our fire problem. So Almanza's like, I'm going to plant all these here trees. And I'm going to say maybe. So let's see. So here go, I'll make all trees out there. Kind of. So he says, time will show. Spirit Lake was beautiful and wild. There, Almanzo drove along a rocky shore where the water was deep and the waves ran foaming before the wind and dashed high on the rocks. There was an Indian mound by Spirit Lake, too. It was said to be a burial place, though no one knew what was in it. Tall cottonwoods grew there, and chokecherries smothered in wild grapevines. Yes, it was an Indian burial ground, and no one knew what was in it, because they weren't speaking to the Indians who put it there. There was an entire tribe of people living there before they all moved in with the homesteading thing. And they knew, they could have told you what was in that burial mound. And they ran them off, and they're like, I don't know what's in this burial mound. Well, you might ask these people who are standing right there, because they're still here, these native... What are you going to do? Oh, good questions. Yes, Hollywood High is the high school next to the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood. That is Hollywood High, with the big Rudolph Valentino Shiki picture on the side. And I went to school there. Yep, it's a typical Hollywood thing to do. Someone asked about me getting recognized. Sometimes I go out and I don't know, nobody says anything. The regular person. And then the next day I go out and every third person is like, oh, hi, aren't you Alison Arngrim? You're Alison Arngrim. You're Nellie Oleson, aren't you? And it's like, cray. But I tend not to wear a bonnet. I don't or a wig when I go out, so it helps. Oh, go away. Phone's ringing. Phone's always ringing here. They know I have my readings. Harumph. So they had no idea who was in the burial place. The Indians are standing right there. They're right there. They haven't gone that far. They're right there. They could ask them. On the way back, they came into town past the Olson's claim. It was on the section line a mile east of Almanzo's homestead. Laura had not seen. Who's that? Okay. It's somebody trying to order bonnets. They're having trouble with the website. I'll have to check in with them. Laura had not seen Nellie Olson's home before, and she felt a little sorry for her. The shanty was so small, standing among the wild grass in the wind. Nellie, our Nellie Olson, who was so rich in Walnut Grove. Oh, hush up. She's got a shanty now, her family in South Dakota, and they have no money. It's tiny. Of course, not true. I think we're talking about Stella Gilbert or Genevieve Masters, but probably Stella Gilbert. Because, Nellie Owens of Walnut Grove did not live in South Dakota. Her family moved to Oregon. So there you go. Tisk. But this Nellie, whoever this Nellie is, got no money. They're on a bad, itty-bitty little claim. It's grass. Sad. Yeah, just among the wild grass and the wind. Mr. Olson had no horses, only a yoke of oxen, and the place was not improved as Pa's was. But Laura barely glanced at it, for she did not want to spoil the beautiful day by even thinking of Nellie Olson. Goodbye then, till next Sunday, Almanzo said as he left her at her door. The whole country seemed different to her now that she had seen Lake Henry and Thompson and Spirit Lake with its strange Indian mound. She wondered what next Sunday would show. Sunday afternoon, as she watched the buggy coming across Big Slough, she saw, to her surprise, that someone was with Almanzo. She wondered who it could be, and if perhaps he did not intend to go for a drive that day. When the horses stopped at the door, she saw that Nellie Olson was with him. Without waiting for him to speak, Nellie cried, "Should I do it? I should do it. I should do it." Wait, oh, my bangs are curls, sort of. This goes back here. Yeah, that goes there. Oof, my hair straightened out. Here, my hair. My wiggy wig. Ow, there's like a pin in here. Of course there's a pin in here. It's endless pins and things on my head now. That's better. Yes. Stuck that behind my ears, I think. There we go. This is so silly. Okay, how silly is this? Straighten my bow. Yeah. There we go. It's a mess. I know. I should have brushed it out properly. So then, this is just too dumb. I can't resist. They came around us, and then, without waiting for him to speak, Nellie cried, "Come on, Laura. Come with us for a buggy ride." "Want some help, Wilder?" Pa asked, going toward the colts' heads, and Almanzo said he would be obliged, so Pa held the bridles while Almanzo waited to help Laura into the buggy. And in a stupefied surprise, Laura let him. Nellie moved over to make room for her and helped her tuck the lap robe around the brown poplin. As they drove away, Nellie began to talk. She admired the buggy. She exclaimed over the colt. She praised Almanzo's driving. She gushed about Laura's clothes. "Oh," she said, "Laura, your poke bonnet is utterly too. Ugh. I think this is the equivalent then of like a valley girl, like saying, "Oh my god, it's awesome, gagging with a spoon. This is too. Who talks like this? She never stopped for an answer. She did so want to see Lake Henry and Thompson. She had heard so much about them. She thought the weather was just utterly too. And the country was nice, of course, not anything like New York State, but that couldn't really be expected out west, could it? Too obnoxious. "Why are you so quiet, Laura?" she asked without stopping, and went on with a giggle. "My tongue wasn't made to lie still. Oh, my tongue's made to go flippity-flop." Okay, Nellie has become more obnoxious, if humanly possible. It's great. Laura's head ached. Her ears rang with the continuous babble, and she was furious. Almanzo seemed to be enjoying the drive. At least he looked as though he were being amused. They drove to Lake Henry and Thompson. They drove along the narrow tongue of land between them. Nellie thought the lakes were just utterly too. She liked lakes, she liked water, she liked trees and vines, and she just adored driving on a Sunday afternoon. She thought it was utterly too. "I just adore driving. Don't you just love wagons?" "I just love wagons. Do you love wagons?" "I like wagons." Oh my God, yes, she'd drive you crazy. The sun was rather low as they came back, and since Laura's house was nearer, they stopped there first. "I'll be along next Sunday," Almanzo said as he helped Laura out of the buggy. And before Laura could speak, Nellie chimed in. "Oh, yes, we'll come by for you. Didn't you have a good time? Wasn't it fun? I'll be Sunday then. Don't forget, we'll be by. Goodbye, Laura, goodbye." How annoying would that be? Almanzo and Nellie drove away toward town. Let's see who this is on the phone. I have no idea who this is on the phone. I don't know. Yeah, that's it. So Nellie has become more obnoxious. It was almost impossible for Nellie to become more obnoxious than she already was. She was annoying in Bags of Plum Creek, and then she came back, probably somebody else, in little town on the prairie, and she was very annoying. But now she's just like beyond annoying. She's not only, her family is poor, they don't have any money. She's living on a less nice claim, a much not very good claim. She doesn't have all the crops that Laura's pa does. She doesn't have the nice clothes Laura does. And she certainly doesn't even have the trees Almanzo does. She's like poor, and she's become a bimbo. And is saying things like, all in one sentence, "Oh, yes, we would come by for you. Didn't you have a good time? Wasn't it fun? Till Sunday then. Don't forget, we'll be by. Goodbye, Laura, goodbye." Horrible, because she knows Almanzo's got money. Yeah, that's right. Poor thing. All right, so wait, are we back to life? Okay, so we're back to normal world. Cause she's driven away finally. Ugh. Perhaps he will throw her in a lake. We could get lucky. Oh, hang heavens! It's awful. Just terrible. That was really fun. All right, now we're going to narrate more with like Laura and stuff. Okay. Phew. All that week, Laura debated with herself to go or not go. It was no pleasure to go driving with Nellie. Right? On the other hand, if she refused to go, Nellie would be pleased. That was what Nellie wanted. Trust Nellie to find some way to go driving with Almanzo every Sunday. Yeah, she's doing it to get her. She knows if she's annoying enough. Laura might be driven away. And Almanzo doesn't know, and if Nellie's told him, oh yeah, Laura and I are great friends, then he's going to show up with Nellie, and Laura will say, I don't want to go. And Nellie will be alone with Almanzo out in the buggy by the lake. She knows. Laura made up her mind to go with them. Next Sunday's drive began much like the one before. Nellie's tongue went flippity-flop. She was in gay spirits, chattering and laughing to Almanzo, and almost ignoring Laura. She was sure of triumph, for she knew that Laura would not long endure this situation. Wait, we're going to put the wig on again. Because it's getting good again. This is so much fun. I know I'm totally messing up my hair. I don't care. This is too funny. The things I do. Voila! There we go. That one goes over there. There. These go here. Yes, that's better. So, Nellie's back in the buggy. Annoying people again. Oh, Manny, calls him Manny. Oh, Manny, you have those wild coats so well broken. You handle them so wonderfully, she cooed, leaning against Almanzo's arm. Laura bent to tuck the dust robe more closely in at her feet, and as she straightened up again, she carelessly let the end of the robe flutter out on the strong prairie wind. The colts left the ground in one leap and ran. Nellie screamed and screamed, clutching at Almanzo's arm, which he very much needed to use just then. Laura quietly tucked down the end of the lap robe and sat on it. Oh, what happened? I didn't see a lap robe. Did you see a lap robe? Yeah, I go. When it was no longer flapping behind them, the colts soon quieted and went on in their well-trained trot. Oh, I never was so frightened. I never was so frightened in my life, Nellie chattered and gasped. Oh, horses are such wild things. Oh, Manny, why did they do it? Don't let them do it again. Okay, I want to hit her. I want to just fling her right out of that wagon right now. I'm not even there. I want to throw her out of the wagon, right on the road. I do. Almanzo looked sideways at Laura and said nothing. Horses are all right, if you understand them, Laura remarked, but I suppose they're not like the horses in New York. Oh, I would never understand these Western horses. New York horses are quiet, Nellie said. And then she started talking of New York. She talked as though she knew it well. Laura knew nothing of New York State, but she knew that Nellie did not either, and that Almanzo did. Right, Almanzo is from upstate New York. Was it Malone? And they even have a whole exhibit up there. Who is calling? It's the same person you know has been calling 3 times in a row. I'm just saying, I'm going to answer if this keeps up. Let's see if it's the exact same person who just called twice. Oh, they gave up. Good. Yeah, Almanzo's from upstate New York. Nellie's laying it on. They were in Walnut Grove for years, and then they're in South Dakota. So she was in New York when she was like a baby. Didn't know about New York. But it sounds good. So she's going to brag about New York, but Almanzo really lived there. So this should be good. And Laura knew that Nellie did not, but Almanzo did. They were nearing the turn toward home when Laura said, "We're so near the boast. Don't you think it would be nice to go see them?" The boast? Wait, nobody wants to. Do they really want to go see the boast? If you like, said Almanzo. Instead of turning west, he drove straight out north across the railroad tracks and farther out across the prairie to Mr. Boast's homestead claim. Mr. and Mrs. Boast came out to the buggy. Clearly, she's not visiting Mrs. Brewster. So, yeah, maybe the Boast. They're way out there. Well, so the buggy carries 3, Mr. Bose teased, his black eyes sparkling. It's a wider seat than the cutter seat. The cutter was built for 2. Oh, buggies are different, Laura told him. They seem, Mr. Bose began, but Mrs. Bose interrupted. Now, Rob, she exclaimed, you'd better be asking the folks to get out and stay a while. Oh, we can't stay, Laura said. We only stopped in for a minute. We're just out for a drive, Almanzo explained. Then we will turn around here, Nellie said with authority. Laura spoke quickly. Let's go a little further. I've never been over this road. Is there time to go a little further, Almanzo? Oh, Laura's mean. She is evil. She's plotting evil things to do tonight. She's so evil here. Oh, it's a good road straight north, Mr. Bose said. His eyes laughed at Laura. Uh-huh. She was sure he guessed what was in her mind, and her eyes laughed back at him as Almanzo started the colts and they went on north. Beyond Mr. Bose claimed they crossed an end of the slough that ran northeast from Silver Lake. Here a road turned toward town, but it was wet and boggy as Laura had known it would be, so they kept on driving north. This is stupid. This isn't any fun. Call this a good road? Nellie fretted. Oh, it's good so far, Laura said quietly. Well, we won't come this way again, Nellie snapped. Then quickly she recovered her happy vivacity, telling Almanzo how much she enjoyed driving just anywhere with such a good driver and a fine team. Ugh. Another road branched into the west, and Almanzo turned the team onto it. Nellie's home was only a little way ahead. As Almanzo helped her from the buggy at her door, she clung to his hand a moment, saying how much he'd enjoyed the drive, and we'll go another way next Sunday, won't we, Nanny? Oh, it's too bad I suggested going that way, Nellie, if you minded it so much, said Laura, and Almanzo said only, goodbye, and took his place beside Laura. See, she figured out, Laura did, that if they went that other way, they'd be going by Nellie's place first on the way home, not hers. Because the other way, she, Laura, had to get out first, leaving Nellie alone with Mr. Manley, which is totally Nellie's plan. So she makes them go around, so when they go home, oh, look, we're at your house, Nellie, and Laura gets to be alone with Almanzo, as she should be. There was quietness between them for a little while as they drove toward town. Then Laura said, I'm afraid I have made you late for your chores by wanting to take that road. It doesn't matter, he reassured her. The days and nights are as long as they ever were, and I don't have a cow. Again they were silent. Laura felt she was dull company after Nellie's lively chatter, but she was determined that Almanzo would decide that. She would never try to hold him, but no other girl was going to edge her out little by little without his realizing it. At home again, as Almanzo and Laura stood beside the buggy, he said, I suppose we'll go again next Sunday? We'll not all go, Laura answered. If you want to take Nellie for a drive, do so, but do not come by again for me. Good night. Meow. Saucer of milk, party of 1. Oh my. She figured it out. She's like, nah, oh, you can go date Nellie. You won't be dating me no more, Mr. Man. And, yeah, so that probably freaked him out. She went quietly into the house and shut the door. Sometimes when she was walking to school past the hollow that was growing greener with violets' leaves and blue with their blossoms, Laura wondered if Almanzo would come next Sunday. Sometimes, when her 3 little pupils were diligently studying, she looked up from her own studies and saw the cloud shadows moving over the sunny grass beyond the windows and wondered. If he didn't, he didn't. That was all. And she could only wait until next Sunday. So she's been claiming she's not interested. It's all Almanzo who's interested. He was all jealous of a guy who turned out to be her uncle. But Laura is interested. Otherwise, she'd just say, fine, go drive Nellie. Ugh, I don't care. She does like him. Mm-hmm. And of course, she also hates Nellie Oleson. Even if she hated Almanzo, she'd be like, yeah, she ain't having him. Ick. Mm-mm-mm. All right, make sure I got all my stuff here. All right. So, she's still wondering. On Saturday, we're getting close, she walked to town and sewed all day for Miss Bell. Pa was breaking sod at home to make a larger wheat field, so Laura stopped at the post office to see if there were any mail, and there was a letter from Mary. She could hardly wait to get home to hear Ma read it, for it would tell when Mary was coming home. No one had written Mary about the new sitting room and the organ that was waiting for her there. Never had anyone in the family had such a surprise as that organ would be for Mary. "Oh, Ma, a letter from Mary," she cried, bursting in. "I'll finish the supper, Ma. You go read it," said Carrie. So Ma took a hairpin from her hair, and as she carefully slit the envelope, she sat down to read the letter. Hairpin as letter opener. That works, totally. She unfolded the sheet and began to read, and it was as if all the light went out of the house. Carrie gave Laura a frightened look, and after a moment Laura said quietly, "What is it, Ma?" "Mary does not want to come home," Ma said. Then quickly, "I do not mean that. She asked if she may spend her vacation with Blanche at Blanche's home. Oh, stir the potatoes, Carrie. They'll be too brown." All through supper they talked about it. Ma read the letter aloud. Mary wrote that Blanche's home was not far from Vinton, and she very much wanted that Mary should visit it. Her mother was writing to Ma to invite Mary. Mary would like to go if Pa and Ma said she might. "I think she should," Ma said. It will be a change for her and will do her good." Later, Pa said, well. That's all Pa said. Well, so it was settled. Mary was not coming home that year. Later, Ma said to Laura that Mary would be at home to stay when she finished college, and it might be that she would never have another opportunity to travel. It was nice that she could have this pleasant time and make as many friends while she was young. She will have it to remember, Ma said. Well, it's true. I mean, they wanted her to make friends, and she is blind. Now, in those days, for a blind girl to go to college, to learn all she's learning, to have a social life, visiting people, that's a big deal. So they were kind of like torn. Do we have her back? Or yay, she's made friends and she's visiting people. Maybe we should let her do it. But that Saturday night, Laura felt that nothing would ever be right again. Next morning, though the sun was shining and the meadowlark singing, they did not mean anything. And as she rode to church in the wagon, she said to herself she would ride in a wagon all the rest of her life. She was quite sure now that Almanzo would take Nellie Oleson driving that day. Still at home again, she did not take off her brown poplin, but put her big apron over it as she'd done before. Time went very slowly, but at last it was 2 o'clock. And looking from the window, Laura saw the colts come dashing over the road from town. They trotted up and stopped at the door. "Would you like to go for a buggy ride?" Almanzo asked, as Laura stood in the doorway. "Oh, yes," Laura answered. "I'll be ready in a minute." Her face looked at her from the mirror, all rosy and smiling, as she tied the blue ribbon bow under her left ear. "In the buggy?" she asked. "Wouldn't Nellie go?" "I don't know," Almanzo replied. After a pause, he said in disgust, "She's afraid of horses." Laura said nothing, and in a moment he continued, "I wouldn't have brought her the first time, but I overtook her walking in the road. She was walking all the way to town to see someone, but she said she'd rather go along with us Sunday. And Sundays at her house are so long and lonely that I felt sorry for her, and she seemed to enjoy the drive so much. I didn't know you girls disliked each other." Laura was amazed that a man who knew so much about farming and horses could know so little about a girl like Nellie. But she said only, "No, you wouldn't know, because you did not go to school with us. I will tell you what I'd like to. I'd like to take Ida driving." Well, we will sometime, Almanzo agreed, but today's pretty fine, just by ourselves. It was a beautiful afternoon. The sun was almost too warm, and Almanzo said the colts were so well broken now they could raise the buggy top. So together, each with a hand, they raised it and pressed the hinge of the braces straight to hold it up. Then they rode in its shade, with the gentle wind blowing through the open sides. After that day, nothing was ever said about the next Sunday, but always at 2 o'clock, Almanzo drove around the corner of Pearson's livery barn, and Laura was ready when he stopped at the door. Pa would look up from his paper and nod goodbye to her, then go on reading, and Ma would say, "Don't be out too late, Laura." Yeah, Ma's still a little concerned about this age difference and all that, but Pa, like, I don't know how many chapters ago went, they're getting married. So he's just reading the paper going, if they're totally getting married, they're getting married, he's going to be your husband. What? I'm just going to read the paper because the wedding is a foregone conclusion. Whereas Ma's like, I don't know, this guy's like, what, 25? But it's great. She did it. She got rid of Nellie. But there's the thing. See, Almanzo knew if he was going to get married, he wanted a woman who could be at home on a farm in the country and who loved horses. Almanzo loves horses. He's crazy for horses. And his thing is all about horses. And Laura is crazy for horses. Laura can break ponies. She can handle oxen, the whole bit. So this is his kind of girl. She loves horses as much as he does. She likes to, half the ladies won't even drive. They have to have a man drive them. They won't even drive. Laura's like, give me the reins. Ha ha, yeah. She's like, yeah, she's ready to get out there on a horse. And that's exactly the kind of girl Almanzo wants. See, there you go. So she wants to take nice Ida driving, so that's much nicer. Good. June came and the wild prairie roses bloomed. Laura and Almanzo gathered them beside the road and filled the buggy with fragrant blossoms. Oh, they got the top down. They got roses in the buggy. It's getting super romantic. Then one Sunday at 2 o'clock, the corner of Pearson's barn remained empty. Heavens. Laura could not imagine what might have happened till suddenly the colts were at the door and Ida was in the buggy, laughing merrily. Almanzo had gone by the Reverend Browns and persuaded Ida to come. Aww. Then, for a surprise, he'd crossed the big slough west of the town road. This brought them to Pa's land a little south of the house, and while Laura watched toward the north, they had come up from the opposite direction. They drove that day to Lake Henry, and it was the merriest of drives. The colts behaved beautifully. They stood quietly while Ida and Laura filled their arms with wild roses and climbed back into the buggy. They nibbled at the bushes by the road while Almanzo and the girls watched the little waves ripple along the shores of the lakes on either hand. The road was so narrow and so low that Laura said, "I should think the water might be over the road sometimes." "Not since I have known it," Almanzo answered, "but perhaps many years or ages ago the two lakes were one." And again, they could have asked those Native Americans who are standing right there. They're right there. The Native Americans, they have it all left. They could totally ask them if they would know. But, there you go. Yeah, like grasshopper weather. Hello. Yeah. Then for a while they sat in silence, and Laura thought how wild and beautiful it must have been when the twin lakes were one, when the buffalo and antelope roamed got there was all herons and ducks and whatnot. "Why did you sigh?" Almanzo asked. "Did I?" said Laura. "I was thinking that wild things leave when people come. I wish they wouldn't." "Most people kill them," he said. "I know," Laura said. "I can't understand why." "It is beautiful here," said Ida, "but we are a very long way from home, and I promised Elmer I'd go to church with him tonight." Almanzo tightened the reins and spoke to the colts while Laura said, "Who's Elmer?" "Oh, he's a young man who has a claim near Father Brown's, and he boards at our place," Ida told her. "He wanted me to go walking with him this afternoon, but I thought I'd rather go with you this once." "You've never seen Elmer McConnell," she remembered to add. "There are so many new people, and I can't keep track of even the ones I know," Laura said. "Mary Powers going with the new clerk in Ruth's bank," Ida told her. But Cap," Laura exclaimed. But what about Cap Garland?" Yeah, right? Mary Power and Cap Garland. I remember. They were a couple. They were an item. They were like, yeah. They were Mary Power and Cap Garland. They were Powland. They were, a duo. Cap is smitten with a new girl who lives west of town, Almanzo told them. Oh, I think it's a pity we don't all go in a crowd anymore, Laura lamented. What fun the sleighing parties were, and now everyone's paired off. Oh, well, Ida said, in the spring, a young man's fancy lightly turns to thoughts of love. Yes, or it's this, and Laura sang. Dear, she's singing those kind of like drinking songs. Oh, whistle and I'll come to you, my lad. Oh, whistle and I'll come to you, my lad. Though farther and mither I should gas... Oh, it's Scottish to me. Oh, whistle and I'll come to you, my lad. Oh, whistle and I'll come to you, my lad. Though farther and mither I should gae mad. Oh, whistle and I'll come to you, my lad. My father and mother will go mad, but I shall come when you whistle. Scottish drinking songs. Would you? Almanzo asked. Of course not, Laura answered. It's only a song. Better whistle for Nellie. She'd come, Ida teased. And then she said soberly, but she is afraid of these horses. She says they aren't safe. Laura laughed delightedly. They were a little wild that time she was with us, she said. But I can't understand it. They're perfectly gentle, Ida insisted. Laura only smiled and tucked the dust robe in more securely. Then she saw Almanzo looking sideways at her behind Ida's head, and she let her eyes twinkle at him. She didn't care if he knew that she had frightened the colts to scare Nellie on purpose. All the miles home they rode talking and singing until they came to Laura's home, and as she left them she asked, Won't you come with us next Sunday, Ida? Blushing, Ida answered, I would like to, but I think I'm going walking with Elmer. Oh, it's so cute. I'm so happy Ida got a boyfriend. Because remember they kept going on about how Ida was an orphan. Ida was an orphan child who'd been taken in by the Reverend Brown. And he supposedly adopted her, but they kept calling her Ida Brown, but they kept acting like she was still like this little foster orphan thing. She was always having to do all the chores. She was Cinderella. She was Cinderella on the prairie. And poor Ida never had any fun, and Laura's always trying to help her out. But now Ida's going, oh, well, Elmer, yeah, I'm going walking with Elmer. Ida is going to marry Elmer, and they're going to live happily ever after. I'm so glad that Ida's got a boyfriend, finally. But Cap, I thought Mary Power and Cap Garland, I thought that was a done deal. Ugh. No, she's off with a clerk, and he's off with some girl out of town. I don't know about that, Cap. But now, finally, it has been decreed. Nellie is not riding with him anymore. Nellie is not a prospect. And Ida, who Laura likes, is like, yeah, if we're going to hang out, we can bring my friend Ida. Ida's like, nah, I got Elmer. I got Elmer. So now it's just going to be Almanzo and Laura alone in that buggy, and they put the top down now. So things are getting excited. So tomorrow is Wednesday, and it's Barnum and Skip and singing school, which is just one huge date. And then there's a chapter called Barnum Walks, and I'm having Dean read that one because it is lovey-dovey, lovey stuff. So this is so much fun. Thank you for hanging around. Yes. So I'm gonna finish my mac and cheese and drink my ginger ale. And I have many things to do. This is things happening. So yeah, there's all these, all the stuff that got canceled has become online now. So, DeSmet, South Dakota, had a whole pageant. Oh, they're going to do it online. Oh, Walnut Grove, oh, they're doing it online. And Dean Butler's going to be there, and I'm going to be there, and a bunch of us going to be there. We're doing stuff. I had a thing in October in Ireland I was going to do, and now apparently that's happened. That's going to be a worldwide online thing. That's going to be very cool. So, everything that went away, it's like going to magically appear on your computer or your phone screen. So, hang around. So take care and really, whew, man, wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, really do your best because it's getting rough out there. Oh, and today's Tuesday, so at 5 o'clock, in fact, we'll be talking about this. At 5 o'clock today, I'll be having on, it'll be here on Facebook from my radio show, the Alison Arngrim show. Steve Peters is coming on. And he's my friend who was diagnosed with AIDS back in 1983. So he not only he beat that, cancer, he did everything. Still alive. It's amazing. And he's going to talk about how now we have a new pandemic, and people's attitudes towards these kind of epidemics and pandemics, how people reacted to the AIDS epidemic, how they're reacting to this, and how people are dealing. It's going to be fascinating, and he's really fun, and he wrote a book, and he's writing another book, and you'll love him. So, yay, yes, have internet, we'll travel. Yes, that's what I'm doing. So thank you for hanging out with me, and Dean will be here tomorrow, but I will see you this afternoon at 5, and I will see you again and again and again, and like I said, I'll just keep reading stuff, so